So you should be happy to note that on this issue of critical importance, where the Honorable Minister has imparted his statement, I have given you full operational play. The Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
So I'd very quickly like to respond to the request for clarifications from multiple members, even if they couched it sometimes in a non-clarificatory way. Starting with Sri Amarpat Nayak ji, sir. The question of cross-border digital flows is not a direct foreign policy issue. It is under the domain of my colleague, Meity Minister. It is a matter on which government's views have been put in the public domain for comments. So I think it is obviously something that will evolve as public comments come in and the matter will be pursued. Regarding his second clarification, inequity, will we speak up for Africa? Will we take up Africa's cause and interest in the G20? Absolutely, the answer is an unambiguous yes. Regarding Sir Vaikoji's two questions, one about our abstention in the UN Human Rights Commission. This has been a long-standing position by India, keeping in mind what not just this government but its predecessor governments have also thought is the most constructive way of addressing and advancing the interests of the Tamil community in Sri Lanka. That continues to be our approach. Regarding the support we have given to Sri Lanka, please, I would request the Honourable Member to appreciate, we have given support to the entirety of Sri Lanka, which also includes the Tamil community, the Sinhalese community, the other communities. So we have not taken a communal approach to giving support. To have a neighbor in this kind of serious economic situation, we would be shirking our responsibilities if we did not step forward at that moment, and that is exactly what we have done. If I could move on, sir, to Dr. Manoj Kumar Jha's observations. One, he asked, the view of foreign policy is to 2014 centric. I don't think that is accurate. I think if you look at everything that I have said, it is not that, in some way I'm suggesting that what has been a continuing strain in our foreign policy, and I'll come to the Palestine issue particularly in that context. But since you are asking me, I would say yes, 2014 was a watershed moment. Yes, things have changed better after 2014. Yes, our foreign policy has become more dynamic, more effective, more prominent after 2014. So I think I'm so glad you picked up the 2014 issue, and I hope you will be supportive of it. On the Gaza issue and the Palestine issue, because some other members also raised it. We are very clear on Palestine. We support, sir, a two-state solution. We want a two-state solution with the two states living peacefully side by side. Some of the members suggested somewhere that our support or empathy for the Palestinians had changed. In fact, our financial support for the Palestinian Refugee Welfare Agency has gone up in the tenure of this government. I hope that honourable members would appreciate that. The issue was also raised about the neutrality, not my word, sir, this was the honourable member's clarification request, on the Ukraine situation. And Professor Jha suggested that he could do my job better. I mean, that is certainly he is free to hold that opinion. What I do want to say is we have been clear, publicly clear at the Prime Minister's level that this is not an era of war. We have consistently urged dialogue and diplomacy. When it comes to the impact of the war on Indian people or in the rest of the world, we have also done the right things about that. We have taken measures to soften the impact, whether it is of fuel or whether it is of food inflation, whether it is of fertilizer costs. So if it is your contention that our position has been in putting the interests of the Indian public first, I plead guilty to it. Yes, I put the interests of the Indian public first. It is my duty to ensure that fuel, fertilizer, food, the Indian public does not pay the cost of some other country's actions or some other region's actions. I think that is the way, in my view at least, foreign policy should be conducted. If I could turn then, sir, to Mr. John Brittas's comments. One, the Palestine issue I have already addressed. The pressure from the West, I think I have addressed publicly. I have said again what I have just mentioned. I would like to clarify. We do not ask our companies to buy Russian oil. We ask our companies to buy oil. What is the best option that they can get? Now, it depends on what the market throws up. If tomorrow the market gives us more competitive options, again, please do understand, it's not just we buy oil from one country. We buy oil from multiple sources. But it is sensible policy to go where we get the best deal in the interest of the Indian people. And that is exactly what we are trying to do. Regarding the oil cap, the impact of this is not very clear to us. Our concern is really what would it do to the stability and the affordability of the energy markets. That is a concern. On his clarification regarding diversity in the G20, absolutely yes. I mean, the fact that we are going to celebrate the G20 across the states of India in multiple cities in a manner in which we have never done any international event before. I think that is the greatest statement of proof of diversity, of our commitment to diversity that I can make. And it is spread without discrimination across every state of every region of this country. And finally, because again, multiple members asked about this, where on the Ukraine students, some of the students have gone back, some have looked for other solutions. In some cases, the Ukrainian authorities have offered some solutions. So it is a very mixed picture. Unfortunately, there is no clean and simple answer here, but the government is doing what it can in this situation. That was also a concern which Trichy Shivaji raised about the Ukrainian students. If I could turn then, sir, to the clarification sought by Thambi Doreji about the India-Sri Lanka agreement of 1987. It is still an agreement. It is an agreement which has been the basis for changes in Sri Lanka, including provincial councils which have come about as a result. In our view, it is still an agreement that continues to remain the foundation of how both our relationship with Sri Lanka is conducted and how Sri Lanka itself looks at its own future. So I would like to assure him that we continue to. It is very much on our radar. We are very, very supportive of it. Then, sir, if I could turn to the clarification sought by Sri Sujit Kumarji. This is a very sensitive case. I'm referring to the detention of some of our ex-servicemen in Qatar. I can only say, because their interests are foremost in our minds, I can only assure him we have been seized of the matter. Our ambassador, senior officials have been in continuous touch with the Qatari government on this. Our effort is obviously to ensure that they are not treated unfairly and that if the sooner we can bring them back home. So I assure you that they are very much, very strongly in our priorities in respect of Qatar, and it is something that we will be pursuing. Regarding Shri Pramod Tiwariji's clarification request on China, and I think Nazir Hussain ji also brought up the same issue. Diplomatically, we have been very clear. We have been very clear with the Chinese that we will not tolerate, we will not countenance attempts to unilaterally change the line of actual control, and that So long as they continue to seek to do that, and if they have built up forces which in our minds constitute a serious concern in the border areas, then our relationship is not normal. And the abnormality of that has been in evidence in the last few years. Meanwhile, the military commanders continue to engage each other, and I think given the sensitivity of that matter, it is something which is left to the military commanders to deal with, and I think the House should be understanding of the national sensitivity of such a delicate matter. Regarding Binay Vishwamji's issue, I think the Palestinian issue I have addressed, the Ukrainian issue I have addressed, but I think two members, sir, had concerns about the South Asia University. He did and Nazir Hussain ji did. I would like to assure the members, we would like obviously to not see this kind of situation. But the South Asian University is not under the direct jurisdiction of the Government of India or the Ministry of External Affairs. It is something which is run by a collection of countries, and part of the problem is that some of the countries have not made the payments which they were required to do for the university. So the university is going through a period of very severe financial stress. Now, beyond that, there are issues of management and academic freedom for the university, because it is an international university. It is not the policy of the Government of India to interfere in the workings of an international university. But we will, whatever influence and counsel we can give them to sort out any problems in an amicable and non-stressful way, certainly we would do that. On the issue of agenda of G20, yes, women-led development would certainly be high among our priorities, as will be a set of sustainability issues, including, as my own statement said, lifestyle for environment. I think it's not, again, my direct subject. My colleague Bhupender Yadav ji will bear out that at COP27, what we are doing in environment is, I think, today increasingly recognized. I had the privilege, along with him, to be with the Prime Minister at COP26 as well. So I think we should look really at today at how the world sees our contributions and progress when it comes to climate action and climate justice. So I would not take the very pessimistic view which the Honourable Member has done. Regarding General Wats's point about study visas, we are very concerned that a number of countries, for reasons which have to do with finance and their processes, have slowed down issue of visas. We have taken up with many of these countries. I myself have done at the ministerial level with the US, with the UK. Yesterday I did it with Germany. In many cases our intervention has led to an improvement. I still think there is some distance to go, but it is certainly, as I said, we run a people-centric foreign policy in the Modi government, and certainly today facilitating the faster issue of visas would be very, very high among our priorities. Finally, on the heroic Idum, the ship issue, sir, the one in Nigeria, even though it is not a policy issue, as my colleague recognized, I would like the member to know we have been in touch with the crew since August. It was detained, the people were initially detained in Equatorial Guinea. They were then brought to Nigeria. They are facing charges in court. There are a number of charges, including oil smuggling against them. We have given them consular support. Our High Commissioner has gone to see them. It is again our endeavor to ensure that they are not unjustly treated, that they have full access to all recourse of law, and that they have the ability to communicate with their family. The last question, the loss of jobs. How many Indians are there abroad? Our estimate is that there are 3.2 crore persons of Indian origin and Indian nationals living abroad. But regarding their job loss figures during the COVID, that is not something, because the data is not maintained by Government of India, so I cannot honestly answer the question. I hope, sir, I have provided full clarification to all the questions.